Howdy, everybody. I'm Thomas Blair.
And I'm Mark Hallish.
And it is time for our June Q&A, where we take questions from our ACE development partners and bring them to you. Big World has been out for about 6 months now. Has it accomplished what you wanted it to, and are you ready to move on? I think it accomplished pretty much everything we wanted to. We stood up the world, we got harvesting, and we've got all kinds of subsystems online. And as always, we are ready to move to the next biggest thing, which is the campaign worlds. But we had to do Big World first so we could actually have a place to build the campaign worlds.
Certainly served its purpose.
Yep. Okay. The beginning of last month was really bad for playtest. Just bad luck, too much stuff added at once. And I think a good way to look at this is we are adding so much stuff that it's often difficult to even get internally everything tested that we're adding, because we're just adding at a lightning pace. I mean,
it was a big month with disciplines coming online and a lot of
now the builds towards the end of the month have actually been better. Like last week's was pretty
definitely
good.
I mean, we're in more of a polished sort of cycle
But when you first put in a lot of things and you touch a lot of things, you're going to break a lot of things, right? I mean, it just happens, and then you work through those. And since we generally put up a new build every single week, we knock out the biggest problems. Yeah, and sometimes it happens. There's a couple things we're doing is slowing down, polishing a little more. The test server will be online soon, so a more polished thing will go from test to the live service. Right now, we don't have that test, and it just goes straight from our developer branches right into your hands. So there are ways and methods that we're looking at and are going to implement that will make it a much, much less painful on you guys. Can you provide an overview of what you're planning to provide in terms of guild support? Guilds are pretty standard across the board, except the Crowfall ones. I think the unique thing that we're doing is we're allowing sub-guilds. So most games don't allow you to create a sub-guild off of a main guild and a sub-guild off of that if you really wanted to fill all of your guild slots with sub-guilds, which would be kind of insane. I don't know how you get that many people together.
Walmart guilds.
The ones that just sit out there and invite anyone? Okay, so if you want to have one of those, then you can create a bunch of sub-guilds and label them appropriately. What will guild banks look like? Detailed exportable logs, tabs with individual security. So all of that sounds pretty nice and cool in advance, but what we're going to start with first is just a communal chest, because that's the tech that you guys see us having right now. Eventually, we'll put some bells and whistles on it, but starting, you don't even have them right now. Yeah. Right? I think the important thing is just making them work. Have you made any progress on mounts and caravans?
No,
we haven't started that yet. We're really trying to get the first campaign rolled up, and then we're going to work on the mounts and caravans. You will be able to pick up the POI resources or the POI materials and haul them back. And I think we might even put some type of slow on you so it simulates being in a caravan. But it won't actually be with a pack pick yet. That's coming. Will we have access to basic rune recipes for quick character customization later on when the real crafting recipes for all of these come online? And I mean, that's a great point. The further comment is the system is too awesome to lock behind all of these RNG time-gated spawns. But we have to put in the methods when we're ready for the acquisition of the thralls that enable you to actually make the discipline. So we're going to have to test that out. So for a period of time, we will probably gate it such that you actually have to go out and find the correct thrall and craft it. So we can just prove that all of that will work. Right. That's kind of funny. I've been seeing comments on the forums where they're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to swap out this discipline when I see a confessor coming up." Yeah. And really, you're going to destroy an existing one for this one fight, and you're going to have the additional risk that you were carrying around disciplines on you.
Right. I mean, like you need to realize is that these have the same, an individual discipline will have the same weight as a piece of like your breastplate or your weapon or whatever, as far as importance and potential cost.
Right. And in fact, it may even have more because maybe on that campaign, the Bard Thrall that you needed to make the Bard discipline, he just never spawned. Yeah. Right. And it didn't happen. So we're going to see some interesting things where we can, in fact, do certain thralls just are in certain campaign bands they're just like resources, right?
Mhm.
If you think of them as another type of copper or iron or whatever, the thralls will be like that, and they'll be floating around in the world, and you'll have to find them, trap them in a soul gem, and turn that into a discipline. So that will create a whole sub economy there for those things, as well as you don't want to be carrying a lot of those around with you, especially open in your inventory.
Right.
Right. That's just a bad idea. Just a bad idea.
A lot of eggs in that basket.
So yes, right now it seems very easy because you just drag a new one over there and you just replace the old one. But that's because
right, and that's what we want, right?
Right,
We want you to try.
We want you to try all the combos out now and find all the crazy broken things so we can fix it, such that when we eventually launch the release system, that it's all working properly. So there you go. Next question: new class Bard. Why didn't you guys make it a class? Why'd you make it a discipline? Well, again, experiments, right? Why build a full-on class when we can try some cool experiments with disciplines? And I just kind of went hog wild on the Bard and Troubadour because I was doing them on the weekends. But it was kind of a, hey, I want to make this and test these things out. And that's what happens a lot of times is you come up with a really strong idea. And you're like, hey, can I make this work? And you're like, all right, I've got one strong power. Let me think about two. And now I've got a theme going. A lot of times we just mechanically try and make things work, and you're like, hey, this could be really cool if I use it in conjunction with this. Mm-hmm. And then the artist made it look pretty, and boom, it does its thing. So why make a class? A class has a lot of overhead. So making a class requires generally a whole slew of new animations for all basically all the powers. And it will be much cheaper in the future for us to make disciplines because generally they've got 2 to 3 actives and maybe 1 passive, and passives are generally super cheap for us to make. So a lot of times it's cooler just to make a discipline also because everybody can use it generally, right? Then you could make a knight bard or a confessor bard or a champion bard. So if we made it a class, then you wouldn't be able to do that. Right. So
it's kind of like multi-classing, dual-classing, whatever.
Yeah, we give you way more options, and I think it's cooler. So you're going to see a lot of these little mini classes kind of in the next batch or the batch after that. We plan to make lots of these things because that's our content model, right? So there you go. Is Ace as giddy as the players to have all these fancy disciplines to play with? And I think the answer to that is
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
right, we've been waiting for disciplines for a long time. We've been talking about them since the beginning. We went super hog wild with them, and they ended up way better than we thought that they were going to be, I think. Yeah. And it opened up even new types with the racial disciplines. Mm-hmm. We still need to do the crafting and the harvesting disciplines, so there will be more coming. And
we're not done yet, basically.
Yeah, we're not done yet. And it lets us do something really cool, which is make a lot of little mini classes.
Yeah.
Right, so I still want to make Shaman as a mini class, which is more of they drop objects, kind of like totem things. We wanted to do the engineer who would drop little mini turrets. Mm-hmm. We can do that now as a mini class and not have to design a whole full class around that. Right. Here's a very strong idea and a theme, and we make a discipline around it, and it may or may not work.
Right, and I mean, it also gives us, a great vector to do things in the future, like for example, pet classes,
and it lets us do kind of crazy things with the power tool as well, and get some new functionality for powers. So it's definitely a lot of fun. We're happy with the way most of them turn out. I love watching the videos that you guys have been building on cool builds and cool things to do with them, and we're knocking out the bugs with the most broken ones as we speak, and we constantly find new ones. I mean, we did add over 300 powers, so they're going to interact in interesting ways, and we're trying to knock out any of the super broken stuff with that. So, okay, well, thank you for coming to the June Q&A, and thanks for the questions. Keep making those videos; they help us immensely when we're looking for bugs after the weekend playtest. It really helps a lot. It helps the engineers a lot. And it just helps us fix things and make a more polished product. So thanks for showing up, and we will see you next month.